All right, I want to hop in real quick just to ask a favor of you guys.
Hell no. No hope, okay? There's only one word for it. What is it? Neglect.
Before we get into this video, if you could go to FordHallOfFans.com. We have 1 day left to make sure that we get Lions representative Michael Banks. He's done so much for this channel, for me. He's awesome. If we could get him into the Hall of Fame, if you guys could go to FordHallOfFans.com, it's very simple. You just click vote. 5, 6 guys will pop up. Click on Michael Banks, the Lions fan. You'll know which one he is. And then just click vote. If you guys could do that, it's free. It's easy. We got to make sure we get this guy in there. We got one last chance to do this. So if you're watching this right now, if you could, please click that link. The link should be in the description. Just look it up, FordHallOfFans.com. And just vote for Michael Banks, and that's it. If you guys could do that, that'd be awesome. I'd really appreciate it. We deserve to have a Lions fan in there. The Lions fans deserve to have one in there. And Michael Banks represents us really well. So if you guys could do that, I just want to ask that quick little favor before we get into this. But now enjoy the video. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another draft profile. And today, we're talking about, to a lot of people, one of the top prospects in this year's draft. And he's not an edge rusher. So let's get it started.
The city's been down, and it found a way to get up. And when you knock us down, we're going to get up. And on the way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, all right? And we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. We're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome, everybody, to a video. Glad you guys are here, and you saw the title. You know who we're talking about today. Today, we're talking about, to a lot of people, the top safety in this year's class. Now, got to make clear, I have not went through every safety yet. I've watched a few of them. I went through guys like Jaquan Brisker, things like that. And today we're taking a look at Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. Now, maybe I shouldn't put that label on him. It's probably better just to say defensive back because he played at slot really more than anything else. But this is a safety out of Notre Dame at 6'4", 220 pounds. And like I said, some people think this is the best player in this year's draft. I don't know if I'm going to go there yet. I don't know if I could go there, but he is super fun to watch. And from the safeties that I've seen so far, he's definitely the most exciting safety prospect to watch that offers so much versatility within his game. So that's right. We're taking a look at a safety today that could definitely be on the Lions boards. He could end up being their first pick in this year's draft. I don't know where he's going to go as of right now. I would think he's easily a top 10 pick. I would think if he gets past us, there's definitely a shot that a team like Houston just grabs him at number 3 because, you know, they're kind of doing the Patriots thing over there. And you think about the Patriots getting guys like Kyle Duggar, that it would kind of fit. But maybe the Lions take him. Maybe he goes number 1. I doubt it, but that's okay. Let's talk about Kyle Hamilton a little bit, the safety out of Notre Dame. So let's do a nice little background of this 2021 season for Kyle Hamilton. Then we'll dive into all the specifics of run defense coverage, all of those sort of things. So Kyle Hamilton, this past season, 2021, he unfortunately only played in 7 games because of an injury against USC. And that injury took place very early in that game. It was super unfortunate because I was pumped to see how he matched up against a team like USC, the utilization of slot receivers because of the role he plays, or if they would possibly play his role a little bit differently. I was really excited to see how that would go, but unfortunately a very early injury in that game, actually hitting Drake London on the sideline, which took him out of the game, and that would effectively end his season. So he only played in 7 games last year. It was a knee injury. It was expected to take about 6 weeks to heal, so it kept him out of the rest of the season for Notre Dame. However, this past season, only playing in 7 games, he still put up some really nice numbers. You could see in coverage, he allowed a 50% completion percentage. It was 14 of 28 according to Pro Football Focus. 1 passing touchdown allowed, 3 interceptions, and a 42.3 passer rating. You can see his total stats, 34 total tackles, which, yes, is a dip. But again, he only played in 7 games this past year. 2 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions in 7 games. That's pretty darn good. 2 came in 1 game, and he had a pass deflection that led to an interception. Speaking of passes deflected, or passes defended, I should say, he had 4 of those, but he did have 0 sacks. He didn't blitz as much as I thought he would, but we'll talk about that when we get into it. You can see his snap counts by position. Again, this is according to Pro Football Focus. These are the 3 most positions that he played. A majority of his snaps did come at slot, which we'll talk about. 114 of those snaps came at deep safety, and 83 of those snaps came in the box. So it was a very productive season, only playing in 7 games, and for the most part, he looked pretty darn good in every game that you saw him play. I mean, he looked very impactful in every game, and what's exciting is about the safety position, a lot of times they can kind of go under the radar, and there can be very long stretches where you don't really see the safety do anything. Now, part of this is because the role that he played, when you're lining up so much in slot, especially slot man coverage, you're going to be much more involved, especially when the other team is passing the ball. But he was constantly being involved in plays, good or bad. A lot of times he was usually good, sometimes bad, but for the most part, pretty darn impactful season for only 7 games. And I did watch some of his 2020 film, but I was waiting to get this 2021 film because I don't really want to judge him too heavy on 2020. Like, hey, that's not his most recent film. If that's his most recent film, that's fine. But I want to see the improvement in his final year. And it was a good season for him, and it could earn him a top 3 pick in this year's draft. We'll see how that ends up. But let's dive right into this. Let's dive into the run defense first. We'll slide into the pass defense. At some point in this video, we'll take a look at some film, and I'll probably point to a few things that'll probably come when we get the pass coverage. And we're going to dive into a few different categories here for the safety position. Again, I haven't went super deep into the safety position in terms of like one player. There's about 4 or 5 players that I feel pretty good about, and now Kyle Hamilton, of course, joins that group of safeties. However, we'll continue to dive in this throughout the offseason, but I had to start with this guy because, I mean, he's the talk. He's the talk of the safety group. So I had to start with this guy. So let's talk about his role on your defense and versatility that he brings to the table, the different positions that he can play. Well, when you talk about versatility, he's at the top of the list. Pretty much any position you could ask him, he could probably play that spot for you defensively. I'm sure some he'll be better than others, but he can play a lot of different spots on your defense. Plus, he did play special teams as well. Now, I wouldn't expect that to be much of the case in the NFL. Maybe they do. Some teams, I guess, probably would do that. I think the Rams had, Jalen Ramsey on special teams. So some teams may do it, but I wouldn't think you'd have to put him on special teams. But it makes sense why he was on special teams for Notre Dame because of his skill set. He could thrive in that area. But specifically talking about defense, as you can see just by the snap counts alone, he's played at a lot of different spots. Now, Notre Dame seemed to be pretty cover 3 heavy, but they would disguise cover 3. So you get a ton of different pre-snap looks, and they would ultimately transition into cover 3, but they would hide things very well. But there was a pretty nice variety there. You saw him in man coverage. A lot of times when he was playing man coverage, he would get lined up on the slot receiver. Sometimes you get him on a tight end. Because of his experience, he really could allow Notre Dame to blitz their linebackers, right? Because he would be able to slide down and take on that slot receiver or whoever it was that the linebacker was initially aligned up with. So they would be able to blitz. He would be able to slide down and help in coverage. And he has so much experience playing man coverage that it was really no issue for him, and they trusted him to do it. So much so that in goal line situations, they wouldn't put a cornerback on the field. If it was 1 or 2 receivers, he'd line up at the cornerback spot. They just didn't want to take the guy off the field. And I don't blame them. Really, what's cool about the versatility here is that, you talk about, let's just say they're playing a cover 3 defense. He's played it from pretty much every spot in a cover 3. He's been the deep third guy over the middle of the field where he's showcasing that range and the ability to get from sideline to sideline and cover a lot of field. He is a long strider with a lot of top end speed. He has really good acceleration as well. Fastest 10-yard split. He can cover a lot of ground really fast. So we'll take a look at some clips because against Florida State, he did just that. But then also you could slide him into the box and he could play kind of the hook curl area. He could get out to the flats. He's played in pretty much every role within that type of coverage. But you also saw some cover 2 mixed in. Half the field safety man. That's usually would be his role in a cover 2 defense. But every once in a while, he played cover 2 from the slot cornerback position. And then, of course, as I said, from man coverage, usually slot receivers or tight ends, that would be his matchups. Not a lot of outside receivers usually, I guess, unless you were in goal line situations. So versatility-wise, you can pretty much put him everywhere. I would just label him as a defensive back. You could pretty much find a place to put him because one thing that he also brings is he was the communicator of that defense. And even after going down with his injury, he was the guy wearing the earpiece on the sideline to stay involved with the game. He was in that system for 3 seasons. He's only 20 years old. So did do some things defensively similar to what the Lions did last season with their 2 safeties of communication based on the strong side of the field. One safety would slide down to the box. The other one would draw deep. They used that same communication. So I think he could really fit in a lot of different places for your defense. Really, if you need safety help, he wouldn't be a bad option. Let's dive into this. Let's start with the run defense first and what I liked and what I don't like about his run defense. I definitely wouldn't categorize this player as like a thumper. That's perfectly fine with me because maybe my favorite part of his run defense comes as a tackler, and that's just breaking down, wrapping up, and being a very secure tackler once he gets his hands on whoever the ball carrier is. Slows himself down, gets very balanced. That's something I love because a lot of times you're the last line of defense back there. You just got to make the tackle, and he does a fantastic job of that. I think technically, according to Pro Football Focus, he only had 2 missed tackles. And then you just kind of go to the traits that he has, and it all really helps him as a run defender everywhere because first off, the length. I mean, he just has a really big radius and kind of warp into offensive players. He also has really nice speed, top end speed, of course. And there was this play against Purdue, which I thought was by far by far his best game I've seen. I mean, it was like every drive he was making a play. But this play that stuck out was just the top end speed here to run this running back down. Now, he got a good angle on this play, and he should catch him, but you can just see how fast he runs this running back down. Not to say it's the fastest back. And he also combines that with acceleration within 0 to 10 yards where he can get up to speed very fast. I love watching him work and play downhill. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to, zone coverage. But him playing downhill, I think, is actually where he thrived the most. The guy doesn't hesitate at all. You don't see him like, oh, should I go? Should I slow down? Should I break down? Just trust his ability, and he's made so many big plays, which you see the 2 tackles for loss. He's had more of those in his career. He just trusts himself. And once he's going, he's going. More times than not, he's making a great play. That gives me some Tracy Walker vibes, I'm going to be honest, as a tackler. So really a lot to like simply when you just come to the tackling side of things. As a run defender, I love watching him play down. When it comes to attacking blockers, he has the length, he has the size to attack blockers and get right in their chest. Now, I think a couple of times you'll see him like working on a receiver where he can find himself a little bit flat-footed and he can get kind of walled off by slot receivers and doesn't always disengage. Immediately, he kind of gets stuck on him and he doesn't really get off the blocker, which I don't like that. But attacking downhill, I think he is a very fun run defender to watch. Now, one of my biggest issues with him as a run defender, and really with a lot of things, I kind of had to nitpick because there's no red flags. Like, I can't point to something and say that's going to be an issue at the next level. However, as a run defender, one thing I didn't love is that his run angles could be very questionable. One of the deep safeties on your defense. And at that point, I mean, you are the last line of defense. Your job is to just not let someone get by you, right? You can't let guys get by you. And you will see some very questionable run angles. Fastest way to point A to point B is a straight line. He'll take that straight line approach, and sometimes he'll do that at the second level, and that can lead to bad angles. Maybe someone will be able to pick up a block on him, and it'll turn a play that maybe was 20 yards into 50, 80 yards touchdown because his angles are sometimes a little bit questionable back there. I love it attacking downhill because he's going downhill. He's making a play in the backfield. But when you're the last line of defense, you have to be a very reliable in terms of run angles to just make sure that you get there. Don't give up the big play. A few times in watching his film that he would give up the big play because he would take some questionable run angles. And like I said, he's not really a big hitter, but I'm not mad about that because usually if he gets his hands on a guy, he's bringing him down because he does a nice job of breaking down in space, not running past players. And that does stick out because with the kind of acceleration and speed that he has, he could easily be running by guys, and he doesn't. It's that closing range. It's that speed. He can fill gaps. Sometimes he'll beat guys to gaps because he just doesn't hesitate. And I love that when you're playing downhill. Let's start with coverage first. And again, like we hit at the beginning, it's the experience in a lot of different coverages, but especially in cover 3. And I think that's beneficial because the Lions played a pretty good amount of it, especially to start the season last year with Amani and Okuda because they thrive in that kind of system. They also do the same communication process between 2 safeties like we did this past year with Tracy Walker and Will or whoever it was when we go to split safety coverage, who was supposed to slide down, all the disguises that they would throw at you that I would assume he has a pretty good feel for that coverage. And man coverage, he did a lot of that as well. He understands his role from different spots. It's not like just at deep safety, he played this coverage. When they go to something else, he had to go to this spot. He could play it from all the different spots wherever they would put him on the field. And he was pretty darn successful from every spot they put him. Now, a lot of times, I think a reason he played a lot more if you combined slot with box than he did at deep. Not because he doesn't have the range to play deep, but I think because they like having him down low to go down and make plays. And it makes sense. I mean, a guy his size, they like watching him play downhill, so I completely understand it. Like I said, it does allow you to be much more aggressive with your linebackers when you can slide him down on a slot. And not all the time do you put him on man coverage, but you can. And you can blitz a linebacker from his side, and he can sit there for the first 5 yards to play man coverage. It allows your linebackers to play a little bit more free when you have that ability. It's very physical within the first 5 to 10 yards with his receivers or tight ends, usually a slot receiver or tight end that he's matched up with, and he uses that to his advantage. Against the tight end, it's great because there's really no advantage that a tight end has. Faster than your tight end, he's about the same height, if not, maybe an inch or two shorter. He makes a lot of plays on the football. He's very active with his hands at the catch point, but on slot receiver, same thing. He uses that physicality within 5 to 10 yards, and a lot of times when they would do that in blitz, the quarterback doesn't have that much time anyway, so he's looking for that quick hitch, quick route, whatever his hot read is, and if it's on Kyle Hamilton, usually the ball didn't go that direction, or at least cause the quarterback to hesitate because of his length and his size. There's not a lot of room to fit the ball. And I think sometimes, there's multiple games where it's almost like the quarterback underestimated how much ground he could actually cover and how much of a radius he actually had. His length and athleticism is clearly an issue, especially in zone drops. But I think a lot of times you would see quarterbacks almost underestimate, especially early in the game, and then they would learn very quickly. Like Purdue, their very first play of the game, he tried to throw it to the flat flats on the far side of the field. Now, Kyle Hamilton was lined up on the slot, but he's sitting in zone coverage, right? So he's sitting underneath, and you could just see him utilize his length to get out there and just knock the ball away on the very first play. Snap, I didn't know he could cover that much ground, or his radius was that huge, and it sticks out immediately. Really, anytime the ball is passed near him, you kind of just keep your eyes open because he may be making a play. There was almost an interception against Toledo where the ball, I mean, it wasn't thrown at his guy, but the ball just gets tipped in the air, and just the amount of range that he can cover and length that he has, you get nervous because he can close that gap so fast, and you're looking at possible turnovers all the time. Like, simple as that. Like, he's built to be a playmaker from the safety position, which is why I think they played him in the roles that he did, to try to continue to put him around the football, because anytime the ball is near him, it's dangerous. The speed and the acceleration. You put him in man coverage, drags, crossers. He has so much speed where he can cover that up and close gaps when you're trying to run those. And I think we saw it on this Florida State play, which I have to point out, where you see him, he's got a man assignment on the player in the backfield, just has that closing speed to really mirror him across the play. And it's just man coverage. It's not like it was zone and he picked it up or something, but just man coverage. But just to get over there that fast, make a play on the football, because he does attack the ball at the point of attack. Like, he attacks the ball in the air. And he also has pretty good hands too. I mean, you look at his interceptions, they're pretty good. He got both feet in bounds. I want to dive into some of his cons here and really set this up. So really my biggest con, which comes in man coverage, and I understand you're asking him to play on a slot receiver, and you're talking about a 6'4". You're asking a guy at that size to line up on a slot. Sometimes it's a back that goes to the slot. So usually he's at least 4 inches taller than whoever he's matched up in that situation. It is a very tough matchup for a guy that tall to change directions. And this is really my biggest kind of man coverage, is he really has a knack to catch receivers, to catch the slot, whoever's attacking him in man coverage, rather than flip and turn and run with him. And that's an area that I think he could use a lot of improvement. And, you know, you could definitely do it. There always could be some limitations here just because of how tall he is. He's not low to the ground, which is benefits in many ways. That transition from a back pedal to turning and running with a guy in and out of breaks. When they're blitzing linebackers, it's fine because within 5 to 10 yards, usually looking for that quick hit. So the quarterback doesn't have enough time for you to take the top off, right? I mean, he just doesn't have that unless they picked it up perfectly. They don't have time to do that. So everything's about quick. He uses length. He's physical, but he has more of a knack to just kind of catch players that are coming at him rather than use his feet to turn and run with guys and stick with them in man coverage. There were a few plays where the ball didn't always go his direction. There was a touchdown he gave against Cincinnati, maybe his worst game that he played this past year. How fast he gets into this trailing position. He was constantly trailing. He was never really on top or in the hip of a receiver. He was always trailing the route. There was also another one where it turned into a sack against Florida State. By the way, the Florida State quarterback was playing off. There was a play where the Florida State quarterback ended up getting sacked. However, if he doesn't get sacked, this guy was wide open running into the end zone because he just catches players. He doesn't always turn and run with them. So he gets caught a little bit flat-footed within 5 to 10 yards, and he's kind of catching guys using his physicality. He always looks to get contact there to slow him down, understanding that his strength is not necessarily flipping and turning and running. Not to say he doesn't have the speed to do so, but he can be a little sluggish in that transition. So he tries to use more of his physicality and his lengths to slow you down, where at least if you're going into that second move or you're trying to get over top, he can slow you down and then catch back up. They give him a lot of slot assignments. It's not easy. You love the experience. I think they just wanted him close to the ball, and they wanted him an opportunity to make plays, especially when they were blitzing. I love watching him work downhill because I think what he does well working downhill is he's always playing on his toes, and he looks very smooth. Like, if you watch the guy, he seems very smooth, working across the field, running diagonally, flying downhill, whether that's to fly on a run or a pass play. If he's working from a safety position downhill, anything playing downhill, he transitions extremely smooth from side to side. He's able to play on his toes, and he doesn't hesitate. Benefit, I guess I would say, of that is he's pretty darn balanced in man coverage. You're not going to get like 5 yards because he's completely selling one way or the other. Slide over to the zone coverage side of things. And again, a lot of this was disguised cover 3 that you saw him working. And as I said, the guy's I would call him a natural playmaker. He just kind of has that flow to follow the football, work towards the ball, the length, the size, the speed, the acceleration. And I would assume in his rookie season, no matter who he's playing for, he's probably coming up with at least 3 interceptions. I would probably throw that out there now. He may give up some plays, but naturally he's going to be near the football if you allow him to play his game in the way that he played at Notre Dame. There's always going to be a risk-reward factor, especially from playing the safety position, cover 2 man, or if you're just in a cover 2 defensively, you got half the field, and all of a sudden the guy starts going away from your side, you start to cheat back over to the middle. There's always a little bit of risk reward within that, but a lot more times than not for Kyle Hamilton, it led to reward. He really does key on quarterback movement. That's what I've noticed. It's not even just his eyes. Now, his eyes, he keys on those too, and when you're playing zone coverage, every guy's got his eyes in the backfield, right? You're not following routes as much as you're following the quarterback's eyes and reading eyes. So whether that's playing in the box, playing from the slot, dropping in the zone, or playing from deep safety in cover 1 or cover 3, being the deep third guy, whatever it may be, sometimes cover 2, he flows with the football, which leads to the playmaking that he has because he doesn't hesitate. There's no like, oh, should I go? Should I stop? Should I wait? He's just going to fly to the ball. So as a quarterback moves one way or the other, you're going to see his body move one way or the other. If a quarterback moves his eyes, you'll see him flow that direction, and it gives him opportunities to set himself up to make plays just like that Florida State game. And we'll take a look at those clips. Take a look at 2 of the best plays of Kyle Hamilton's season from 2021. 2 of his 3 interceptions came in this game, plus he had a pass defended that went in the air and that led to an interception, which I think was thrown in there earlier in this video. However, these 2 plays, I think, show off a lot of the ability of a guy like Kyle Hamilton. Now, these are very poor decisions, both of these from the quarterback, but I'm not going to let that be taken away from Kyle Hamilton. So let's take a look at this first play that we have here, okay? Now, we're going to get a blitz from this Notre Dame defense. As we said, it allowed their linebackers to be more aggressive. Now, he's not lined up on the slot in this situation, but ultimately, their 2 inside linebackers are going to blitz. You're going to get an immediate blitz here from number 41, and then you're going to get a delayed blitz from the other inside linebacker. Now, because of that, number 9, who's playing this outside linebacker defensive end role, he's actually going to drop and take this running back out to the flat. Now, they're bringing the blitz, so they're expecting this ball to get out very quickly. That does not happen, okay? It gets pretty delayed. It turns into a broken down play, which we will see. So on this side, you're going to have outside cornerback. He's playing a very soft zone type of coverage. He's kind of just messing with the quarterback a little bit. Like, is he going to throw it? Is he not going to throw it? He doesn't drop deep, into like a cover 3 type of drop. He just kind of drops into a soft little zone. So let's play this thing a little bit. Here's Kyle Hamilton at the top in a split coverage look. And really what he does on this play is you're just going to see just flows with the football. I'll show you as we go. So you're going to get this immediate blitz. You got your edge. He's going to drop out, take the running back. Then you're going to get this delayed blitz. Linebacker slides down underneath. He's going to drop into a deep coverage. And that leaves Kyle Hamilton to kind of cheat back to this side of the field. Now, as soon as the quarterback not only looks this way, but starts moving that way, Hamilton starts to flow with that to the other side of the field. That's a little bit of that risk reward. But as a safety, you're not expecting that ball to go to the other side of the field, especially when you're bringing that blitz. You're expecting that ball to get out quickly. So as Kyle Hamilton sees him start to move that direction, he starts to flow with that to the opposite side of the field here, okay? So you're going to see you got the edge on the running back, so the ball does not come out. You get a pump fake, so he takes that first read away. They're trying to get this sack, but it doesn't happen. He escapes the pocket, and now he's going to take off. Now, this is a bad decision. You can see the cornerback here is just kind of playing with him. Is he going to throw? Is he not going to throw it? So now you have your edge on a running back, okay? Way downfield. All right, this is not the spot they want to be in defensively because now you got a one-on-one with your running back, and this could be a shot play. But as we said, Kyle Hamilton's going to flow with it. He's a natural playmaker. Quarterback's going to the opposite side of the field. You're not expecting the ball to come back this way. Deep cornerback out here is going to take the shot away. So Kyle Hamilton's a little bit free to roam, and you can see he immediately starts roaming to the opposite side of the field, and it leads to an interception. It's a bad decision. Just chucks the ball up in the air way too high, but it's just that long speed, and then to finish it. It's not just enough to get there. You also have to finish the play and give us the ball back. Just knocking this way isn't enough. He puts up the shot where his guy's completely beat, but because Kyle Hamilton flies with the play, immediately puts himself in a position to make a play, and he finishes it off. It's a good catch, toe tap. He looked like a receiver on that play. Plays a little bit different. So you're actually going to get man coverage across the board from the defensive backfield on this play. This one's a little bit different. So you can see matchups, boom, 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 boom. So you have everybody mashed up. They're going to have your 2 linebackers drop over the middle into the hole underneath, all right? And you also he's also going to keep an eye on this running back who's going to leak out. So you're getting man coverage on this play. Again, it's a 4-man rush. Kyle Hamilton, he's given a lot of space, but the linebacker's dropping into the zone underneath. So he's able to give that kind of space. But then it starts to break down, all right? Because you can see this is a broke down play. This is not a route that was like designed for him to run. I can pretty much guarantee you that. So the ball does not come out here as everything is covered up real well underneath. So the quarterback, again, he's going to start rolling right, and he's going to end up making a terrible decision. So he rolls right. Shout out to Kyle Hamilton. Did you notice, though, like we said, how he kind of catches him? You're going to notice he kind of catches this route. Bam. You see how he kind of gets flat-footed and catches it? Well, that's what happens here. However, Kyle does a great job of sticking with it, all right? He continues to run with him. You can see the receiver was expecting a pass. He didn't get it, so now the receiver just breaks off. If this was like a normal route, it could have been a little bit more difficult, but since it was a broken down play, it was much easier for Kyle to stick with him, but he did. Credit to him. He didn't give up on it. So he continues to run with him. He ends up undercutting this route. It's an awful decision just to float the ball straight up in the air, especially with this guy on the other side in man coverage. Floats it in the air, 2-tap, boom, great hands, and he got the interception. Well done by Kyle Hamilton to stick with that play. The issue with his zone coverage that I would point to, and this is actually an area I think he could improve upon, and it's probably understanding maybe more of the route concepts that he's going to see thrown at him. And week to week, you're working on game plans, things like that. I think with good defensive backs coaches like us, it would help. Kind of understanding maybe a little bit more of the route concepts or combinations that they're trying to throw at you, where they're trying to put you, because at the college level, certain quarterbacks could give him issues in zone coverage by just using their eyes. Who stuck out? Toledo. Toledo's quarterback. Now he's transferring to South Alabama. I'm actually excited to see what he does there. I know he's got some issues, but he did a great job of using his eyes. And anytime he would look off, and didn't have to be anything crazy. You just peek one way and come back the other. Kyle Hamilton flows with that. So he would immediately be flown to that side, and it would open up a huge space to someone in the other spot. Now, that's always going to happen at every level. But for him, I think he could do a little bit better, and he could possibly be a little bit better at understanding route combinations and concepts and where they're trying to get you and where a quarterback is trying to go with the football. That way, yeah, you're still flowing with the quarterback's eyes to put yourself in position where a quarterback would, run one way and he'd take off, then he's looking to the flat, and he would kind of work his way through routes where he could just pass off routes based on where you're looking. But if for quarterbacks in the NFL, a lot of timing, and they all are looking off defenders, they know where they want to set you up. They're not just doing it because they're trying to find someone that's open like a lot of these college quarterbacks. For the NFL guys, they're looking to set you up. They're looking this way simply just to move you out of the play. So for him, if he could understand maybe route concepts a little bit better and where that specific team is looking to attack him, he could do a little bit of a better job of flowing with the ball, but also understanding maybe a little bit more of where the routes are actually going. That way you can keep track of it. Because one thing that you notice, and this comes from playing as a deep safety specifically, he's playing underneath as a box safety. When he's in that zone coverage, you'll see him just flow with the quarterback and his movements, and it can open up checkdowns, things like that. But when you see him as a deep safety, what you notice is that when a quarterback reads his way, or they roll his way, or his eyes go his direction, he immediately puts his head down and he starts searching for routes. He starts looking around, trying to figure out where the routes are going and trying to get in position. It's proactive as you would like it. It's kind of read the quarterback's eyes. You see him look that way. Now he's trying to figure out where the routes are. It's not super proactive, and it can get him lost. And sometimes he doesn't even know the ball's been thrown because he's looking for routes. He could be a little bit more on top of that and kind of do a better job of possibly seeing ball, but also having just a nice, better sense of where the routes are. That way I'm not completely lost. So when he looks this way, I can still kind of keep my eye on him, but I have a better feel of where the routes are actually going or where they're trying to move me. That way I'm not completely lost when I put my head down trying to find the routes, because sometimes he wouldn't even know where the play went because he would just put his head down and try to find out where routes are going. Like, good quarterbacks in the NFL could give him some issues that early, but he's also going to just be a playmaker, especially when plays break down. And that's what happened against Florida State both times, because plays broke down. He just rolls out. And they were terrible. I mean, he threw the ball straight up in the air. But he's going to be a playmaker in those spots because he doesn't hesitate. He's easy to roll out. You're in trouble. He's just going to flow to the football, and he's going to make a play on the ball. It's just as simple as that. He has the speed, the length, the size, and he's got the ability to catch the football. And this brings me to a category that we didn't see utilized as much as I thought it would, and that's blitzing. I thought he'd be blitzing more than he did. He didn't blitz that often, but when he did, there was a couple of things to like. First thing is that he's pretty powerful. So running backs, he can move them back a little bit. Not to say, again, that he's running guys over, but he's pretty powerful. And also, I just like his height. Like, when you got a 6'4" guy coming at you, it's tough for a quarterback. You saw some where he would just knock the ball down in the air, where he didn't even get to the quarterback, but he would knock the ball down because he's such a big guy where he jumps in the air. He's got a 40-inch vertical. I mean, he's covering so much range. A quarterback can't even see over the guy. I liked him as a blitzer. They just didn't do it as much as I thought. He had 0 sacks throughout his entire career. I'd assume you could have mixed if you're going to line him up at slot like he did in college, you could mix your occasional slot blitzes in there, and he could probably give you some problems. A lot of people have been bringing up, he bites on play actions and play fakes and things like that. Again, I just think it's that he doesn't hesitate. He plays with the flow of the football. I didn't see really the play action bites and things that people are talking about. I didn't see that. I saw it mainly when quarterbacks were dropping back and passing, the movement that they could get on him. But I could understand if that is the case, why that would be the case based on seeing his play style. The intangibles are there. The guy's a great communicator. He felt felt like the leader of that defense. He was loud. He was vocal. He had a lot of energy that he brought to the table. And for being a young player to kind of be that guy for your defense does stick out. To stay involved when he was dealing with an injury, you do have to worry about the injury. It was a knee injury. They said it was the fat pad. It was a 6-week return for him. He was unable to get back. You got to keep that in mind. But you just like all the little things that you learned about this guy. The athleticism, he's a freak athlete. He's got a lot of good size. The role would be a little interesting. It seems like he's best working downhill because he just gets to play around the ball a lot. So I would say that's probably where he'll fit best, but would not shock me if he could transition and be able to do both. I just think you want to keep it mixed up. You don't want to just sit him in a spot and be like, this is all you're going to do is play deep safety. I don't think you want to do that. You want to continue to move him around to different spots, allow him to play attacking, and try to do your best to just get him close to the football. The closer you can get him to the ball, the more often you're going to be making plays. So you got to understand that as a defensive coach, but you want to continue to move the guy around and not just sit him in a spot and be like, this is all you're going to do. I don't think that would fit him the best. Playing him as a straight up deep third safety, yeah, he could do it, but it wouldn't really bring out what he's great at, and that's flowing with the football. Because, yeah, he'll move with the quarterback's eyes, but he's just going to stand back there and cover field. You want him to be involved in everything, and he doesn't have any red flags where it's like we can't get him involved, especially playing downhill. Anytime he works downhill, he's the most exciting to me. A couple of plays that there were some confusion, specifically passing off man routes when they would have to pass off, who their guys were, but they usually got to figure it out. It wasn't a red flag that stuck out to me. He had a pretty good feel for that and trying to communicate with players pre-snap. We got to point out that Florida State running back, man, I mean, he had a good East-West Shrine Bowl game. He played Shrine Bowl game. He played well against Notre Dame. He'll be someone I keep my eye on for sure. Jay-Sean Corbin, I think is his name. I'll be keeping his eye on him. But overall, man, that's my breakdown. That's my little look at Kyle Hamilton. I did 3 full all 22 games for 2021 for him. I watched some 2020 for him. I also watched the Toledo game. I watched the USC game up until he was injured. So 5 to 7 games I saw this past season multiple times. And he's a fun player. Like I said, from the safeties I've seen, he is the most impactful safety. He's the most fun to watch because he's always around the football and you get kind of nervous. Not really nervous, but as an offense, you'd get nervous. And you're just ready for him to make a play because of where he is. He's susceptible to giving up some things, but there's no real red flags in his game. He's definitely the best safety that I've seen so far. His role at the next level, it seems like it's going to be a little bit more understood than Isaiah Simmons, who was kind of like a linebacker. Yeah, he played safety. He was also more of a linebacker. His role seems like it'd be a little bit more understood, and it's not like because of his size, he lacks top-end speed or acceleration or anything like that. Go through the rest safeties. Very big fan of him. I'm not going to say he's the best player in this draft. I do believe Hutchinson is the best player in this draft as of now, but he is the best safety that I've seen. I don't know where my rankings are going to be for at the end of the year. Maybe I have him as my top player. I don't know yet. It's worth a top 10 pick in my opinion. You just have to allow him to play around the football. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below about Kyle Hamilton. Thank you, Prop, for watching, and we'll be back for more of these as we continue through the offseason. So stay tuned. Just do what you do, and we out.